Hey everybody, it's me Luke here again with another Luke Talks at the Camera video. I'm currently in my kind of half moved out house, so things are a little weird, but sure we'll be fine. What I wanted to talk about today is our switch to Fate Core. You'll be seeing us doing a lot of weird things on camera, and I wanted to explain like kind of how Fate Core works and what some of the core mechanics are. So when you see us doing stuff and slinging out words like aspects and success with style and all these little things, they'll make more sense and you can kind of follow what's going around at the game table a little easier. I'm going to dive in with one of the core concepts of Fate, and that would be aspects. Aspects are kind of a verbal way of mechanically representing some nebulous facts. So lots of different things have aspects. Primarily characters have aspects. And every character is constructed of a couple different aspects. These aspects can help them mechanically, and they can also act as a guide for the character. So a good example of a character aspect would be born in a hive of scum and villainy. This provides some color and some interesting things about your character. You can be like, oh, my character's kind of a rough and tumble sort of guy. And what this allows you to do mechanically is when you roll dice, and there's this currency in the game called fate points, and they kind of refresh as things goes on. It'll make more sense as I get going here, but when you want to invoke your aspect for a benefit. So say I have the aspect born in a hive of scum and villainy, and I'm walking the streets and I'm looking for a drug dealer because I have some mission. I have to get some weird drug for some whatever. It doesn't matter. And I roll to find a drug dealer, and I don't quite make the target. I can go, well, my character was born in a hive of scum and villainy, so it makes sense that he would be able to find this drug dealer a lot easier than it seems. So here you go, GM, I'm going to hand you a fate point, and I'm going to invoke that aspect. And boom, you get a bonus, and you'll likely succeed on the roll at this point. Characters aren't the only things that can have aspects. Scenes and items can also have aspects, and this can add a lot of depth to the gameplay in a very subtle but interesting way. So let's take a scene, for example, where there's this bustling marketplace and a chase is about to happen. This scene would have the aspects crowded, maybe bustling with noise. You can really argue all sorts of things with an aspect, and the GM will often tell you what aspects kind of obtain in any given scene when the players start. And the players can invoke those aspects just like they would invoke their own aspects. Items also have aspects. An item with an aspect can be very interesting. So let's say my character loves his combat boots, and I can say, well, what can I do to make these combat boots more interesting? Well, let's say they're totally badass combat boots. That's a great aspect. So you can put that in quotes, and then whenever you need to be cool or something, you can invoke that aspect for an advantage. And let's say, well, that's not that interesting. Let's give them kind of a more negative aspect. Let's say they're totally badass combat boots that I'm irrationally attached to. That opens up a lot of possibilities for story development. So this opens up another interesting thing you can do with aspects. So far we've talked about invoking, using aspects to your advantage. But additionally, aspects can be compelled. And a compel is when the GM or another player, rarely, says, oh, you know what, your character has an aspect, hard-headed and doesn't listen to reason. Which, lets you bullhead your way through a lot of situations and be strong. But, the NPC you're talking to is very helpful, but I'm going to give you a fate point. This is how fate points are regenerated. And I say, I'm going to give you a fate point to compel your aspect hard-headed. And you know what? You're just going to completely ignore what he has to say. Or something like that. The compels can be very interesting. They're a way of moving the story forward, allowing flaws to actually exist in characters in a tangible, meaningful way, and kind of giving a mechanical reward for having flaws, which is great for making a story more interesting and unique when you don't want everybody just to be awesome at everything all the time, because that doesn't make good stories. So that's kind of aspects in a nutshell. There's a lot more you can check out. I'll say it right now, the Fate Core book is free online. You can go pick it up, and they have it online. It's pay what you want. I'd highly recommend throwing out a couple bucks. They've been through a lot of iterations of Fate, and this is a really polished product. It's really great. You can download it and check it out. Just Google Fate Core book. Awesome system. So next, I want to talk about how the dice work and how there's 4 different outcomes for any given dice roll. These are fate dice, as you can see. Whoa. We're good. These are fate dice, as you can see here. They have 3 different kinds of facings. There's the flat face, which is nothing, the minus face, and the plus face. You simply roll your dice, and given your outcome, you subtract any minuses and add any pluses, and boom, you get a result. You roll 4 for any given roll. The way this kind of is beneficial is the outcome spread is very narrow. 60% roughly of all your dice rolls are going to end up from +1 to -1 in that kind of range. So stats are a lot more important, and a +2 bonus is incredibly significant. You have about a 1.2, I think it is, or 1.6 chance of rolling a +4 or a -4. And that makes, these kind of critical failures or successes less common and a lot more dramatic. When you have, in D20 you have a 5% chance, or in D10 you have a 10% chance. So it kind of keeps things a little more interesting in the story. So on to the 4 basic outcomes. Whenever you roll dice, one of 4 things is going to happen. You're either going to flat out fail when you're well under the target number you need to reach. You're going to succeed at cost, which is when you meet the target number but do not exceed it. You're going to succeed, which is when you exceed the target number by 1 or 2, or you can succeed with style, which is when you beat the target number by 3+. Basically, the way this works is if you fail, you totally fail, and you might take a negative aspect or some other sort of punishment in regards to the scene. If you succeed with cost, you pull off what you were trying to do, but additionally, you get some sort of negative effect. This can usually take form of an aspect. It's really fun to lodge an aspect on players, like, all right, I'm going to try to swing across this cavern. Okay, roll it. Oh, you succeeded with cost. All right, you swing, and you land, but you slip and fall, and now you're hanging onto the edge. Like, that's a great example of success with cost. Or say we're in that crowded marketplace I mentioned earlier with aspects. I could say, okay, oh, there's a guy with a bag of flour carrying it, in this marketplace. I'm going to slash it with my dagger to create a flour cloud behind me to add the aspect onto the scene. Marketplace covered in flour. So I say, okay, roll it. Oh, you got success with cost. That means you succeeded in adding the aspect on the scene, but additionally, I'm giving you the aspect you have flour in your eyes. So success with cost is awesome because it allows this gradation of success. Success is boring. You did it. Great job. You pulled off what you wanted to do. Doesn't have to be boring, but it's less interesting than the others. And success with style means you pulled it off so well, you get an additional aspect on top of what you were trying to do. So say I'm net running, and the CPU tries to eject me, and I roll just awesome. I execute my Killer 4 program, and the GM says, oh, great. You've succeeded with style. Give me, what aspect do you want to lodge on the computer? And I say, you know what? I want to say that I have a backdoor in this system because I pulled this off so well. So next time I come, I want a +2 bonus to breaking into this system. And the GM goes, sounds fair. All right. So those are kind of the 4 basic role outcomes. And they make the game really interesting, and they provide kind of a forum for expression through the dice. So I guess there we go. Those are some of the basic Fate Core elements that all you'll really need to see our game and kind of follow along. I'd highly recommend you check it out. The game is, again, awesome and free. There's been all these different Fate games. There's been Strands of Fate. There's been like Bulldogs and the Dresden Files RPG. And this game has gone through a lot of revision and refining. And it's one of really my favorite games because it moves power in interesting ways between GM and players, and also just kind of provides a framework for role-playing that you don't get a lot of the time. The dice aren't there to represent physics. They're there to represent kind of interesting things happening in the story play. They're building a fiction that we can all be a part of. And as you've probably seen us play games, we're very into more of a collaborative storytelling sort of thing. We're more interested in moving the plot forward than rolling a crap ton of dice all the time. So Fate Core fits really well with us, and it's really one of my favorite game systems. And it's free, so you can't lose. So please go check it out. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all in Cyberpunk. Should be up in just a couple days. So have a good one.